The Gators obviously, and I said this to Hicken on the podcast, the Gators obviously used two different staffs to coach that game.
Felt that way.
In the first half, it was a totally different staff. They had tempo. They went with tempo on offense. There was not the clap and shift in, look in the sideline, clap and shift in, clap in, play clock down to 7 or 8, then they snap it. Did you notice the tempo they played with? They were getting it. They were lining up quick. They were getting it out quick. They had UCF on their heels. It was go, 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 boom, 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 boom. Defensively, they crowded the line. They blitzed like crazy. They've never blitzed under Napier with any of his 12 defensive coordinators. That they blitzed like crazy, and it looked like a different team. Aggressive defensively, blitzing like crazy. Aggressive offensively, racing to the line, playing with tempo, and they got up 24-3. Somehow at halftime, the old staff came back, and the second half was what we've seen for 2.5 years. Walk to the line, snap, shift, clap, 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 shift, clap, 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 play clock at 7, clap, 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 snap it. And then on defense, 3 guys on the line of scrimmage and 8 guys in another county. So it was bizarre to me that it was so different. The second half is why Billy Napier's on the hot seat. The first half is why Florida hired him. It was bizarre to me. Now, listen, they won the game, and it was a game that a lot of us, you and me included, Hays thought they were going to lose. So congratulations to them. They've won 2 in a row, 3 out of 4. They've quieted the noise at least a bit. But it was bizarre how differently they approached those two halves and how they approached the second half the way they've approached so many to this point.
Yeah, if you had told me that UCF was going to outscore Florida 10-0 in the second half on Saturday morning, I would have said, well, the Gators are going to lose the game. I mean, it's just it was certainly it was equally stunning because I was shocked at how well they played in the first half. To your point, the offense was crisp. The numbers were great throughout. They just really, in the second half, they were also bothered by the fact that UCF was able to sustain some drives, and so they just didn't have as many, chances. They didn't have as many possessions, but certainly he sat on a lead. And again, at Florida, you don't sit on a lead. You've got to keep attacking. It's what this fan base identifies with is, okay, you've got your opponent in a corner, keep throwing haymakers at them. And even once you put your backups in, keep throwing haymakers. Don't let it affect, how you approach the game. So obviously he's a coach desperate to get any kind of win he can. And when he took a 3-possession lead into halftime, clearly it was, well, I'm going to, milk this clock as much as I can and play conservative. And it almost cost them. I mean, by the grace of God, Gus Malzahn ran the most ridiculous tempo in the second half when UCF had to get going.
That was hilarious.
And it was so methodical. And it was like, wait a second, this is a coach that goes fast in general. Why are they lagging so much? I mean, there was one instance where it took UCF like 2.5 minutes just to go from like their 10 to their 40 because of how laboring it all was. And so, that certainly helped. Because I think if UCF had been crisper and a little bit more cognizant of the time crunch they were in, I think they could have pushed Florida to the brink and come back. Because the problem is once you take your foot off the gas, it's so hard to get anything back in terms of momentum and your acceleration. It's just hard for players to do that. And I think it clearly happened here. And yes, I think it does show it's a flaw. Now they got the win and they got a win I didn't think they were going to get.
And it was a good win.
And it's a good win. But again, it does show that that's just not how you approach it. You gotta, I mean, you got one quarterback who finished 19 of 23. You've got another quarterback that was 4 of 4. I mean, obviously, those guys are seeing things really well against your opponent. Let them keep throwing it, but it is what it is. They got the win. They avoided the embarrassment of losing in the swamp to UCF. So that's something they can certainly, hang their hat on. And now it gets very real with a trip to Tennessee as a 15.5-point underdog.
I wonder what happened, though. I wonder what made Billy Napier think, okay, we're now not going to go tempo anymore in the second half. And that was, and it was just bizarre to me.
He doesn't trust his defense. Which I get
well,
that.
Okay, and maybe that's it. And maybe you hit it. Maybe he wanted to hold the ball for a while. Maybe that was it. But it just, I mean, I that thing could have been 38-14. You know, that thing could have been. And I thought, wow, it surprised me. I like the way they played. I think Mertz played very well. I will say this. We're not at the games. And I'm a Mertz fan. You know that. And he's really accurate and efficient. He's a good player. But, boy, he does check down a lot. I mean, it's and again, by not being at the game, you don't know if people are open or not. He might have to. But he checks down so much. And then the minute Lagway comes in, he takes a shot down the field.
Splits two defenders.
And puts it right on the money. It does make you wonder, is Mertz just not taking chances down the field, not seeing things down the field? You know, I mean, because it's, again, I think Mertz is a good player. But there was a lot of checkdowns in that game. And, again, you can't tell it if you're not at the game. But it was that was a high percentage of checkdowns.
It was. I mean, I think with Mertz, it's just that almost to a fault veteran.
Yeah.
I can't go broke taking a profit approach. So if I can get 6 yards here, I'm going to take it and hope that my guy, breaks a tackle, as opposed to, trying something deeper with low, percentage of hitting.
That's described well. That's probably right.
And if that doesn't hit, now we've gotten nothing on the play and we're behind the chains. Lagway is just obviously way more talented than Mertz.
He's got a bigger arm.
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
right.
he's just way more physically gifted. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is sort of what Graham Mertz is. He's Gardner Minshew. I mean, he's Gardner Minshew at the collegiate level in terms of how Minshew plays at the NFL level. It's going to be very safe. You're not going to have a lot of explosives. He did have some receivers out, so maybe that contributed to it. But it doesn't go unnoticed that Lagway attempts 4 passes, hits a deep shot. Mertz attempts 23 passes and never really took a shot downfield. Now again, the guys broadcasting the game, no one makes mention of, boy, look at what Mertz had here that he didn't go to.
Right, that's right.
You're not seeing a lot of that, so which you'd like to think they're paying attention to. So, I think it's just two different styles, but this is where it gets really interesting for Florida, because now going to Tennessee, obviously that is going to be a massive challenge, a game that you're going to have to score probably in the 30s to have, any chance. I don't buy that Florida's defense has all of a sudden found something. I think they had a bye week. I think that certainly helped. They were prepared and they played well to their credit. But I don't think much of that translates to going to Rocky Top Saturday night.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to win the game, and we'll get to that as the days and week go on, even maybe later on today. But some other things about that Gator game that were a little curious to me. I wonder why Trey Wilson didn't play. They showed him on the highlights going through warm-ups in full uniform, looked like he was pretty good shape, and then didn't play in the game. Aiden Mizell looks like he's got real skills, looks like he's a change of direction, fast guy, suddenly doesn't play in the game. Trayon Webb, who looks like he's maybe an NFL back, suddenly doesn't play in the game with no real explanation, unless I'm missing something, no real explanation as to why. I wonder if these guys are contemplating, it's fair to wonder, are they contemplating the whole 4-game red shirt, save a year and go NIL to school X and make more money? It ran through my mind. All 3 of those guys.
And they're thinking maybe if we lose to UCF,
right.
The season's a wrap. But maybe if we win, and we'll have something to play for, and I'll rejoin the squad.
And more people will watch, or my agent guy wants to see me against Tennessee, and I don't want to play 2 more games. I mean, it had to run through your mind.
Without a doubt. We talked about it all week. It was a big storyline, and particularly in terms of Napier's control over the team and the team's willingness to still listen to him and be bought in despite the water that they've already taken on this season. I'll say this. It doesn't seem like these are opt-out things. It seems like these are genuinely
could be
injury situations. Napier has been asked directly about this.
Right.
And has said, no, we've got a hungry group and we don't have any of that, and then was asked about these players and said, and gave an explanation injury-wise. I mean, with Wilson, he was like, he probably could have gone. It was just, and he was like, and I was tempted. But, I mean, who knows? Now that we've seen UCF, I mean, Florida may have watched UCF for a week and said, as bad as we are, we should be able to
They're not very
beat
good.
these guys
They were not very
in
good.
our house.
Yeah.
And maybe
you're right. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah,
Maybe that's it.
It doesn't seem like it's that, but, look, with Webb, all of a sudden you've got a running backs room that, I mean, I thought the 3 guys that played Saturday night all played well.
Yeah, Jackson might have been the best of the 3. I kept saying I thought Ball was the best of the 3. No, you're right. It's a good running backs room. They might have all been legitimately injured. I might be overthinking it. It surprised me. Part of it is because I really wanted to watch Mizell again after watching it last week, and all of a sudden he's not playing, and Wilson's not playing, and Wilson looked good in warm-ups. If you add all that up.
I think if Wilson was opting out, he wouldn't even bother going through the motion of, I'm going to put on the whole uniform, go through a warm-up, and then just basically be like, oh, I'm opting. I think it's genuinely like, and again, look, Billy Napier, again, probably watched UCF and said, I think we're going to be okay here. But in terms of a guy who's getting ready to get fired, if he does somehow find a way to win Saturday night, you've got to reevaluate every conversation that you've been having for the last 5 months.
And that the conversation for later this week or even today or tomorrow is they have no chance to beat Tennessee. But if they do, all the Billy Napier's fired's off the table. That's Billy Napier. If they beat Tennessee, if they go to 4-2 with Kentucky coming in, he's now not fired. I'll tell you that right now. You don't want to hear that. I wouldn't worry too much.
Well, you would also still be in contention. I know you don't want to hear this for the playoffs.
Exactly.
Their only 2 losses are to a top 6 team and Texas A&M who just pounded their opponent.
Missouri,
but that's the point.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him fired so badly. You don't want to hear what I'm saying. And they're not beating Tennessee.
But I can see why Napier would say, let's make sure our only chance is for Trey Wilson, like they did in some games last year, where on the opening drive he'd catch 6 passes.
Right.
So, I mean, he's somebody that in Knoxville on Saturday, if he's up, I mean, Trey Wilson may have 11 receptions.
But know this, I'll say it again. If Florida wins that game, if Florida wins at Tennessee, they go to 4-2. They're 1 win away from being ranked. Okay, think about it. Just stay with.
If they win on Saturday, they will be ranked.
They might be, but they win 2 weeks.
Should be.
If they beat Tennessee and beat Kentucky, they will be ranked. So 5-2 halfway through, or more than halfway through, you're suddenly a ranked team.
It is interesting.
What a turnabout that would be.
Oh, it'd be unlike anything we've ever seen. It is interesting. Obviously, Miami playing so great. The Texas A&M loss it's still a bad loss, but the fact that Texas A&M, I mean, just toyed with Missouri.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously Texas A&M at the time when you lost that game, you're thinking, a 7-5 team just came in here.
Backup quarterback.
And ran for, 300 and something yards. Well, now you're seeing, they actually may be, and we'll see if what they end up really finishing, as the Aggies, but you can't deny, I mean, they just whipped Missouri.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was over fast. And so, anyway, it's, again, it would be a fun conversation to have if he's able to do it.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here. Thanks so much for checking out our 1010XL Florida Gators page. If you're looking for more Florida content, subscribe now. But if you're looking for some professional football, NFL content, head over to our 1010XL Jaguars page.